Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, man. I don't know. Feels like 105, maybe. Oh, yeah. Well, it's a dry heat here. It's a dry heat. Let them just keep you telling you that. No, hot is hot. Yeah. Captain of Chaos. Well, so long and short, I'm an emergency manager. For the people who don't know what emergency managers do, basically they plan for the days that nobody wants to happen. They basically get ready for the different levels of Jumanji. And it seems like we've been having a lot of that lately. So it's been a really banner year for emergency managers. And, long and short, we help businesses get through bad times by we're supposed to be pre-planning, but we also help through the operational phase of things by helping run emergency operations centers and things of that matter. We run along with the incident command system, which is this big federal framework that's been sent out to sort of tell people, oh, by the way, listen to the boss. That's generally what it is. So maybe it was your microphone all along. Right. I can't hear you either. I can't hear you on the computer. See, if you had done some prior planning with an emergency manager, you would have known that this was going to go like this. Another thing that we do is we handle people's technical disasters for them. We like to pre-plan and pre-check things. As I was nervous this week, and everybody can't hear Jay, but I get to have some fun because Jay can't hear me, but I can hear him over the telephone, but it's not working well for him. Okay, bring in the expert. Well, now
Can you hear me now? Ah.
let me
Can
turn
you hear
down
me,
my
John?
speaker. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right. I hung up the phone, by the way, so you don't have to have your phone on anymore.
Yeah, needed. Yeah.
All right. Now, hopefully, people can hear us and we can get back to what we were doing here. Helps to use the right mouse. That's always helpful. All right. We won't hit the complete reset button here, but we will get adjusted. Tanya, the questions are on that computer, so I need that one back.
No, she'll read them off to you. You can't read anyways.
That's right. Well, we did test this yesterday, everybody, and it was working yesterday, but clearly we did something today to mess it up. All right. All right, so you answered our first question, so now we have the second question.
All right.
What inspired you to enter this career after having been on the pre-hospital and military side of healthcare?
So, what inspired me to become an emergency manager? Well, basically, I was jobless, Jay, and I was looking for something. It was, I think it was like 2004, end of 2004, and I moved back to Iowa. It's a long story. I was supposed to have a job back. It didn't happen, and so I was looking through the newspaper one day, and there was this job for hospital disaster planner, and I had been working in the military as a basically an emergency manager. Did nuclear, biological, chemical warfare stuff, and sort of was working alongside a bunch of people basically doing emergency management. So I thought, oh, I'll take a stab at this, and long and short, I got the job, and here we are 16 years later, and I'm still doing it. So,
And when I asked you before the interview to tell me about a day in your shoes, one sentence that you said really stuck out. And you stated, I challenge people to do really uncomfortable things. I challenge people to do really uncomfortable things, and I cannot really get a better definition of encouragement than that. Do you find it easier to collaborate with staff by providing positive reinforcement in your role, or is it easier to encourage since you have to collaborate with so many different people or different departments?
well, you got to do a mix of both. Long and short, you have to encourage people to get out of their comfort zone. And what I mean by that is, we as human beings are kind of lemmings. We get up every day, we go get in our car, we follow the same track to work every single day, we take the same elevator. We walk into our
Same cup of
units.
coffee.
I mean, it's like we hate anything that has to do with change. And so
Right.
I have to encourage people to break out of that, because a lot of times nobody wants the emergency manager around. He comes up and he says, hey, we're going to do a drill today. Oh, I'm not ready for a drill. I didn't plan for it. No, sort of, that's the point. This is going to be uncomfortable. And that's what I meant by I push them out of their comfort zone. And by pushing them out of the comfort zone, it helps them test what would it be like if I was put in this situation today, whether it's fire or with infectious diseases, like we're going through now. We did a lot of testing with people ahead of time to find out what are our shortfalls, and we had to collaborate as a group, because I am an emergency manager. I know a very little bit about a lot of things, so I end up having to get people who know a lot about a little bit and get them in a room and collaborate. So I encourage them and say, you can do this. It may be uncomfortable. It may not fit your schedule, but I have to do both collaborate with them and get them all on the same page, and encourage them that they can do it, even with scarce resources.
Great answer. How specifically, seeing as you kind of mentioned it, has your job changed since the COVID outbreak? And do you find your role more or less inspiring these days because of those changes?
Well, that's a
And when
tough
I say
question.
inspiring, I mean to you personally.
It's draining. It's no less inspiring, I guess, of what I do. I'm really glad to be here making a difference. I run an emergency operations center now every single morning until the end of the day. My job is to call people all day long and say, how's your department doing? How's your staffing doing? Where's the resources? How's the logistics looking? I really sort of all day long. It's consumed me, and that's not the way it was before. It's inspiring knowing that I'm making a difference and I'm helping people through a tough time. But it is very draining because when you wake up every morning and the first thing that you have to talk about is COVID, and then when you get done at the end of the day, all you've been talking about all day is COVID this, COVID that. If I hear the word COVID again, I swear to God, I'm going to puke. But I guess I'm going to hear it again tomorrow, so I better get ready with the upchuck basket, right?
Exactly. Get your
So,
emesis basin ready to go.
yeah,
You shared with me that your most inspiring people in your life were not only your parents, but a dad to one of your best friends. I think you said his name was Joe.
yeah.
Did you find that the inspiration that led to both your career in the military and in the civilian sector were interchangeable, or were there things that were able to be separate? As in, your parents kind of led you towards the military side. Did Joe kind of lead you towards the EMS side, or anything along those lines?
So my parents actually are both retired Air Force, and they did not like the fact that I was joining the military. So they had actually encouraged me not to join, but rather finish college first and then join. And then me, I was feeling that burden of, well, hey, you guys had a good life. You moved all over the world. You both have good jobs. You seem to enjoy your jobs. But I get that they were trying to guide me towards something else. But I've always wanted to be a firefighter, and that was Joe Dennis that actually inspired me to do that. And one of the things I was seeing on the backside was little known fact, or maybe it's well known fact, is that a lot of times in city government, where most fire departments are, if you have prior military experience, you get more points on the civil service test. So it
Right.
was like, well, I can join the military, do a few years. Oh, by the way, they'll pay for college. That is not a recruiting thing. I'm not throwing that out there to guide anybody towards it, but I'm sure having Joe around,
Hmm.
your own Joe, that can be a big benefit. And here I was spending my parents' money and feeling guilty about it because they empowered me with the whole "don't be a burden to others" thing. And so I joined because I needed a little bit of a somewhere to go. I needed some focus in my life, and I'll definitely I give the military benefit. I ended up staying there for 18 years. They gave me focus and they helped guide me through, taught me a lot of great stuff. So my parents encouraged me once I got into the military to keep and push through on it. And it was, I've always had a dedication to public service and, fire department, EMS, the military. It's all been public service for me. I haven't stopped since the day I was 18 years old.
President Jon Johnson, maybe?
No, no, no,
No,
no.
no.
Because I'm afraid I'll
Senator?
say something stupid one day and everybody's going to hold it against me and take my Twitter account away from me.
You have a Twitter account?
No, I don't.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't think you
That's
did.
how I fly under the radar.
Now, being a street paramedic and then transitioning into the emergency management does not sound like it should be difficult. However, the mindset does have to change pretty significantly. What inspired you to go to the emergency management side of things? And also, has one or the other made you better at your job?
Um, there are a lot of it's not a difficult transition, but you have to get out of the only the operational phase of things where you're doing and responding to what you see right now. That's that response phase. And you got to move into sort of the planning side of things. You got to think ahead. Like I say, you go as a paramedic, you go from thinking minute to minute. In my job, you have to think 40,000 feet. You got to say, how is my action right here affecting somebody, downstream from me? And so that was a big changeover for me. I did enjoy the change. It has really made me a much bigger thinker. I think I really, going and getting my education helped with that as well. I went to Drake and got a master's degree, and that was really I feel like it was a process in just writing a lot of papers, but it helped me think and it helped me get outside of that comfort zone of just thinking right now and start thinking about how my actions affect others.
Here's a tough one. Do you define family as to what you were born into, or the relationships that you develop not only with your birth family, but others you work and deal with closely in life?
Yeah, both. For sure, both. I mean, it starts with my biological family. They're awesome. They're inspiring. they gave me sort of the foundation. My dad and mom are both talkers. As you can see, I'm a talker too. So they gave me that good foundation. Love them very, very much. And then I came into sort of this military and firefighting and EMS, and very, very much a family there as well. I mean, you have to live. I think I tell people this way, you know, if you work an 8 hour job, you're going to spend more awake hours in the day with the people you work with than you are gonna with the people at home that you live with day in and day out. And here at the fire department, we were working 24-hour shifts. So basically, we were working a third of our life at the fire station. And you think you have to be a family. You have to know people's ins and outs. You got to be able to deal with them every single day. Some you can deal with better than others, but you got to learn to get along. Otherwise, it's like, you don't want to be the black sheep,
Right.
long and short.
Well, and I think that, both of us, because of our career paths, I think that the collaboration of just having to, like you said, learn the habits, learn the likes, dislikes of your partner, of the other guys on your shift, guys and gals on your shift. Um, you have to pay attention to that. And you may not get along with everybody, like you said, but at least trying to be respectful as you're doing it, so that way you can not only get the job done that you're asked to do, but also just to be around each other for, like you said, 8 to 24 hours. I mean,
Mhm.
we worked the same shift as far as lengthwise there for a number of years in Dallas County when we were both down in the Des Moines area together. So, proudest moment in your civilian life?
Well, in my civilian life, it's definitely the birth of my kids. I mean, there is nothing more proud than the moment that a new child comes into the world for me personally. So family wise, it's definitely the birth of my kids, and that's a lot of proud moments because I got 5 kids, right? So, and then also on the civilian side, delivering a baby in the field, pretty awesome feeling, right? Like, so that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty proud. Yeah. In the military, it's different. In the military, that proud moment was, it's sort of weird. It's that moment that you and 1,500 other people dressed just like you go marching through the parade field on your way off to cheering crowds and stuff like that. That was pretty overwhelming. I mean, it was a pretty proud moment. It sucked a few weeks later when we're sitting in the desert carrying our weapons and things like that. So, but that was still a pretty proud moment for me on the military side.
Not a question that I had given you when you deployed that last time. Were you still in Alaska then, or were you back
No,
continental?
I went with the HHC, first of the 133, the Red Bulls out of Iowa, out of
Okay.
Cedar Falls, and just a great group of guys. I mean, second to none. Like they are the best. Every single one of those guys, I would still call family, open up my home to them any single time, any single day of the week, whatever they need. We kid with each other still on Facebook a little bit and throw jabs at each other, but all just fantastic guys, still to this day, and another family, really, for sure.
Well, and I mean, a lot of people in our area here do know what the Red Bulls are. I mean, the Red Bulls are quite a large group between the Minnesota and
Yeah,
Iowa and
primarily
Wisconsin
Minnesota and
too.
Iowa. Yeah, primarily Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Mostly Minnesota and Iowa. I think the brigade headquarters is for Iowa. The first brigade is Minnesota, and second brigade is Iowa. Somebody will probably comment and say, "No, no, wait a second." But it's been a long time. I retired years ago, so
Yeah, exactly. Give us three personal bucket list items.
wow. You gave me this question, and my bucket list is always changing, right? So, um, I gotta say, probably go back to Europe with my wife. So I've been to Europe a number of times without her, and I've always promised her that I would take her. So it's probably about time that I lived up to that. Um, Second bucket list item. I'm not this go ride a bull sort of guy, but I think it would be really cool to go parasailing. Like that just sounds awesome to me.
Okay.
Um, and my wife's gonna hate me for saying this, but I do have one really crazy thing I want to do. I do want to jump out of a plane, but she's like, "No way, man, you're not doing it." And I'm like, I'll break her down eventually.
you'll have to maybe give Joseph a call and see if he'll join you. He's made a few jumps out of the planes, so
I'll be
he could
screaming
maybe.
like a girl. I'll be screaming
I,
like a girl.
I always told him when he was in the active duty that that I would like to try it someday too, where we could do a tandem jump where I could be strapped to him. But after this whole heart attack thing in January, I don't think that Tanya is going to let me get anywhere near a plane door unless we're going on vacation somewhere. Certainly not with a parachute or strapped to somebody with a parachute. So
Well, at least you'll be the
uh,
safe one.
now give us three career bucket list items, even if it's a career that you haven't entered into yet.
Okay. Well, uh, I think what I would really like to own my own business someday. And maybe the second one ties in with the first one, and that's doing emergency management for small businesses. It's a it's a big void. I mean, there just isn't. There's emergency managers for hospitals, for government, but your mom and pop every day do the work sort of businesses. As you can see, we haven't had a disaster plan for them. How do we get them through some of these big moments? I can see myself starting a business and trying to help them out, help them practice or get ready for that day and write disaster plans for the day that they need to shut their doors, or help them keep their doors open by working with government entities and stuff like that, and convincing them that now we have this new norm where it's like you're essential, you're not essential. Well, who makes that decision up? A bunch of
Right.
political people sitting in government office, and they said, I think maybe well, if I was representing small businesses and we had a coalition that represented hundreds of small businesses and I was their representative, their emergency manager, I could come in the door and say, listen, I represent 100 small businesses and we're here to tell you that here's an essential business list and present it to them instead of being told.
Right.
And
Yeah.
number three would be definitely I have never experienced this telework thing. Now that 70% of the nation has done this telework thing, I would love to see what that's all about. That's really cool. I still have to get up every morning and basically go in, and it's like punching a clock every day.
Right. Well, you kind of did a little bit of telework when we were there with you in January when that storm came through, and you were one phone to each ear, and you're talking to people, and we're looking at the radar, and I think I even had my phone pulled up so we could see radar, and not quite the same though. That was a little bit different, but
Yeah.
same concept anyway. So when you were younger, you shared that you lived in Germany and that you had enjoyed yourself living there, envisioned, excuse me, yourself living there someday. What was the inspirational thought process behind that? Meaning, what was the draw for you to someday live in Germany?
Well, I think, I grew up there as a kid. And I think that a lot of times military brats like myself, like I said, both my parents were in the Air Force. Military brats like me, we have a hard time focusing on where's home. Like even now in Texas, I mean, it's where I live. It's where I'm hanging my combat boots right now, I guess is what we used to say. Home is where you hang your combat boots. But I never had that place that I actually felt like this is home. And the closest two places are Germany, where I also not just lived as a kid from 4 to 8 in those formative years, but second place was up in Alaska. Well, I went back and lived in Alaska, and as I get older, the cold just doesn't agree with me. So, but I think it's because of those formative years as a kid, and then just having a love of the language and the culture, having a bunch of friends that lived there and that we talk back and forth, and history. I'm a huge history buff, love history, especially World War II history. I'm always about going back over there and really focusing on, learning the path of different units, whether it be Patton's Third Army or the 101st Airborne, following some of those routes through Europe. So it'd be a cool thing to do in retirement. And as you can see, my beard's getting more gray all the time. So
Well, only the bottom half of mine is gray. Upper is fine yet. If you were there in age like 4 to 8, you had to have been there pretty close to the time the Berlin Wall came down, then, right?
no, I had already left.
Oh, you'd already
Berlin
left.
Wall came down in '89. So when we were there, it was very much high anxiety, peak of the Cold War. you didn't go too close to the East German border. That it was still two Germanys. Well, so and then I got a chance to go back as an exchange student after high school, and just awesome. I mean, just way
Oh,
cool.
that's right. I forgot that you did the foreign exchange student thing.
Yeah,
You've told me about that before, but I totally forgot about that.
yeah. Bunch of good
Um,
friends of mine.
oh yeah. And do you stay in contact with the family and stuff, or?
Yeah, not the family that I stayed with, but another family that I became friends with the guy. He actually came over and stayed with me the previous year, and then I went and stayed with him the following summer. And then my parents' best friends when I grew up. My best friend across the street, his name was Jochen. He and I are still friends. We talk from time to time online.
Cool. Who do you, or should I say, where do you collaborate in life more, work or at home?
Uh, at at work, well, at home, I collaborate in so much as I do exactly what I'm told every single day. If that's collaboration, it just happy wife, happy life. No, no, it's definitely a partnership at home. All right, so definitely a lot of collaboration. It's a give and take every single day. One person always thinks they're right, the other person always thinks they're right, and that can be a real clash sometimes. So I have to work the hardest at collaborating at home. It comes more naturally for me, but at work it's a different type of collaboration, so it's equal. You got to be able to do it in both places.
When you mentioned that your future is consulting for small business preparation in times of disaster, do you feel that that market right now is better or worse for that goal?
Well, I think there's definitely a window of opportunity, right? It's on people's minds right now before we go back to the lemming thing that I talked about earlier, and doing the same thing all the time and hoping for different results, which we all know is the definition of what? Chaos, right? um there's definitely a window of opportunity. The problem is like, and you could probably allude to this, the cost. I mean, what would it cost for a business like yours to hire your own emergency manager? No, I think it needs to be a collaboration of a bunch of businesses coming together, networking and partnering together to hire one emergency manager to help all of them. And that I think is where it is. But it takes people knowing what emergency management is, how to do it. And it's not just fire evacuations, it's not just planning for fires. That's a part of it, but it can be any type of disaster. The big one that I spend a lot of time planning for is actually computer disasters, failures of computers.
I was just going to ask a bonus question. I was just going to say, do you think cybersecurity for small businesses fits into that? And I have to believe that it does. I mean, we hear all the time about ransomware and stuff like that, where people have had their computers hacked into, or their emails hacked into, or whatever. And we have an IT company guy in our networking group. Actually, Tanya has one in hers. Alan Ox with Midwest IT Systems, and then mine is Wes Gilbert with Mankato Computer Technology. And the two of them talk about cybersecurity all the time, in the ability for them to remote into somebody's computer and stuff like that. So I jokingly, when we were having technical issues here, you said you're not a bit of a techie guy. Well, I think you're probably going to have to bone up on that just a little bit starting your business, or else you're going to have to hire the right guy that
Yeah.
that knows that can advise you. And like you said earlier, it's not that you need to know a lot about one thing, but a little bit of a lot of things,
Yep,
and then
absolutely.
align yourself or collaborate with those other people.
Totally agree.
All right, last question, because I know that you're looking to get on the road because you're coming to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in Iowa, so we're not going to see each other.
And you know what?
Um,
Everybody in Minnesota is afraid I'm bringing COVID, because if you listen to the news, like it's everywhere here. Everybody's got it. Oh my God. It's not that way, people. It's not that way.
Last question. In 30, 40, 50 years from now, what do you want people to know about you? And what encouragement or inspiration would you hope that they learn from the road that you paved before them?
Well, what would I want them to know about me? I care about people, and I want them to succeed. I want everybody to succeed, even the people that are jerks. I mean, everybody deserves to succeed, right? And I've tried to even manage when I was an EMS director. I tried to be that guy that, just inspire people to be better. It's like this. I think we've all had that person in our lives who has inspired us to be a better person, has helped us along the way. So I try to mentor a lot of people, and I hope that when people look back, they'll say, "Man, you know that Jon Johnson guy was a great mentor," and that's all about inspiration. Because I don't want them to look back on me and go, "God, that guy was a real jerk." He got things done, but he did it on the backs of everybody else, and I'm trying to lead from the front. I'm really trying to be that guy who's on the front lines, is willing to shovel the crap with you, to show you that I'm willing to be there alongside of you through to the end.
I think that's probably one of the biggest likes I have about you and our friendship is that you've always been a leader. You've always been straightforward. You shoot from the hip. You and I may not agree on things from time to time, but yet we're respectful to each other. I know that you and I like the right NFL team. I know your wife doesn't.
Yeah, well,
But
that's her problem.
yeah, I mean, everybody
House
has one in the
divided.
family, and that's just where she falls.
Yeah.
So
What she doesn't realize is someday the Minnesota Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl. It may not be in my lifetime, but it might be in somebody else's. And when that happens, when we're in heaven together, I'm going to rub it in her face and say, "You see, I told you they could win one."
all right, John, Tanya and I would like to thank you so much for being our guest today on
Yeah.
ICE. We need to get you and the family on the road back here to Minnesota to see your family. As I already stated, sorry, we're not gonna be there to see you when you get up here. Safe travels, and all the love to you and Sarah and the kids.
Yeah, love you guys too. Thank you. And thanks for having me on, and hope everybody enjoy it.
Thank you, John. Next week on the show, we will have a quartet of women whom Tanya has grown to be close friends with, all associated with the decorated apparel industry. We're excited to have this group join us, and they're coming to us from across the country. On behalf of both Tanya and I, would like to thank you for the viewers for who tuned in to check this ICE thing out. We hope that you found the message of inspiration, collaboration, and encouragement to be useful in both your personal and professional lives each day. Thanks a lot, folks, and have a great day.